Latest on immigration reform, I'm joined by Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro of Texas. He is meeting with the Democrats in the House immigration group, the Gang of Seven. He did earlier today, and he's meeting later today with House Speaker John Boehner. Thanks so much for being here, Congressman.
No, thanks for having me.
So since you're meeting with Speaker Boehner, let's start with what he said yesterday about immigration reform. I want to play some of that sound.
I don't see any way of bringing an immigration bill to the floor that doesn't have a majority support of Republicans. Now, I frankly think the Senate bill is weak on border security. I think the internal enforcement mechanisms are weak, and the triggers are almost laughable.
Doesn't sound like he likes the Senate bill, and it doesn't sound like he's going to bring a bill to the floor of the House unless he knows it's going to get the support of a majority of Republicans, not just the House, but Republicans. Sure. Doesn't sound like a very good prognosis.
Well, I mean, we're still optimistic, you know, and there's no question that he's in a tough spot within his caucus. But I think that in the end, we'll end up passing comprehensive reform in 2013. I hope that he doesn't invoke the Hastert rule. If you look at the big votes that we've had.
Hastert rule, just to explain for our people at home, is that you have to have a majority of the majority. Yeah.
Right. And so that essentially allows 25% of the body to control 100% of the legislation if you invoke that rule. But on the big votes this year, on Sandy relief, on Violence Against Women Act, the debt ceiling limit extension, the Speaker didn't invoke the Hastert rule. So I hope that he stays consistent on the issue of immigration because, you know, upwards of 60% of the nation supports comprehensive reform with a path to citizenship.
There is news of a CBO, Congressional Budget Office report, which takes a look at the bill. It was mostly good news, interpreted by supporters of the bill. It would cut the deficit by $897 billion over 20 years, according to this report. But I want to read another part of the report that says, CBO estimates that under the bill, the net annual flow of unauthorized residents would decrease by about 25% relative to what would occur under current law. So it sounds to me that even the CBO, which is nonpartisan and tries to be as objective as possible, agrees that the border security is still relatively weak if it's only going to reduce illegal immigration by 25%.
Well, but I think that we have to consider the context. Remember, we have less border crossings with Mexico than we've had in really the last 4 decades or so. And so we've got more resources committed to the border right now than at any other time in American history. And I think that's why you see less crossings. Obviously, because of the American economy over the last few years, you also see less crossings. So that 25% is bringing it even further below historic low levels.
But I think the concern of Republicans who, for any number of reasons, might want to support immigration reform is that this is just going to be another quick fix like happened during the Reagan years. You solve the problem for the 11 million in this country illegally now, but then you don't really prevent it from ever happening in the future. We're going to have to do this again in another 20 years. Why not take as strong a measure as you can to lock up the border so there is no more illegal immigration, or as close to zero as you can get? You'll get the support of conservatives.
Well, I mean, I think some of what they're asking for really is illusory. Some of those triggers, if we actually put them in place, for example, we would never move on to the legalization part. They're so subjective. We would be here fighting about them in 5 or 6 years. And so the Cornyn Amendment, for example, I think really is a distraction because it's not realistic.
All right. Congressman Castro, thanks so much. Good luck with your effort, and I hope you have a good meeting with Speaker Boehner. Tell him I said hi.
I will.
All right. Thank you so much.